All right. Well, today I got an email from a friend, and he said, "Hey, should I spend $69 for a plugin to help me do split screens in Final Cut Pro?" And my response back was a resounding no. So let me show you. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do a split screen. So here I got a couple of shots. I got these people looking camera left, and I got these people looking camera right. So I want to do a split screen. Well, the first thing to think about in terms of doing a split screen is you're basically compositing two shots together. So the length of the two shots has to be about the same length. So what I'm going to do is I got the two shots here, and I'm going to just lift this guy up, and I'm going to drag it over, and I'm going to put it on top of the other shot. Now, miraculously, they're the same length. Who would have thought I would have, planned that? So here's my two shots. So the easiest way to do this actually is to select the top clip, and you have to make sure that you're set for image plus wireframe up here in the canvas window. I think it defaults to image, so frankly, I drive with image plus wireframe on all the time. Now, you could do this whole gizmo where you double click here and you go into the motion tab and you twirl down the crop, and then you say, well, I want to pull in the right side, so oh, look at that, here's right, and then you could drag on this, and you know what, that works fine for many people, but I think it's ridiculous. I want to work faster than that. So the best way to do this is to if you select the clip and you come over to your little tool palette here, you'll notice that this guy's highlighted because that's the default setting. It's the selection tool or the letter A on your keyboard. And if you come down here, this one is called the crop tool. The crop tool. So that's letter C. So if I hit the letter C, I get the crop tool right here in my canvas. And when I get it right on the edges or the corners, I get my little crop marker. So I'm going to grab that guy and I'm going to drag him over about 50% through the screen. And I'm done. So I've now done a split screen. That's okay, but here's the problem. As I look at this shot, I'm thinking, well, it'd be nice if he had a little more looking room, and I got a bunch of dead space here. So to fix that, I have to click on this guy, and I got to drag it over, like this, and but now my crop point is wrong. So I go back to the crop tool, and I got to monkey junkie it around, and it's kind of a pain. So not really elegant. So I'm going to do a few undos. I'm going to put that back there and put that back there and uncrop that. And now we're going to make some tools. So I'm going to go over to Photoshop here. And essentially what I have is I just have a blank background. And if I double click on the base layer, I get the new layer name thing. I'm going to double click on that or click on that. And the main reason I'm doing that is I'm basically unlocking the base layer. Now I'm going to hit Command T to get my grabbing tooly things, and I'm going to come over here to the width, and where it says 100%, I'm going to type in 50%. Now by doing that and hitting return, I have a thing that's exactly half the width of the screen. So what I'm going to do is if I hold down the shift key, I can drag that over and it'll kind of snap to the edge of the screen. And if I use my arrow keys, I can see there's a little bit of my crosshatch. I put a couple of clicks there. Okay, so that's one half of the screen. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and make a new layer. And this is just some, Photoshop tomfoolery. And if I hit the letter X, I get white for my foreground color. And I'm going to hit Option Delete, which basically fills the screen with all white. And I could do the same trick about 50%, but if I hit the Command key and click on layer 0 down there, I'm basically selecting the other half of the screen. And then by hitting delete, if you look down at my icons here closely, you can see essentially what I have is I have one layer that is the left side of the screen, and I have another layer that is the right side of the screen. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to save these guys as PNG files. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to come out to my picked folder, and I'm going to call this, this is the right side of the screen, yeah? So I'm going to call it mask right, and I'm going to save it as a PNG. It's important to think about how you want to do this because I don't want to call it the right mask, because then my right mask and my left mask will be in different places alphabetically in my folder. So if I start with the mask name, it makes more sense. So I'm going to save that guy. And yeah, click on that. I'm going to come down here to the layer 0. I'm going to do the same drill, put it in the same place in this folder, and I'm going to call this one mask left. All right, and also save that as a PNG. Now, that's cool. What are we doing with these tools? Well, we're going to see this in just a second. I'm going to come out here to the Finder. Here's my two guys, my little guys. Click on that, come over to the Final Cutter, and drop that into my graphics folder. Now, this is where it gets fun. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of compositing tricks here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, if I option select my two layers, I can then, holding down the option, hit the up arrow once. That pushes everything up one layer. And then I'm going to option select just the top layer and push that up. Okay, that's important. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to concentrate on this top layer. This is the guy looking camera right, which means I want the left mask. And I'm going to drag this file underneath here, and I'm going to drag it out the length of the clip. Okay, use the snap. All right. So then what I do, and this is where it gets, this is a tricky little thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to control click on that layer, and I'm going to come down here to the composite mode, and I'm going to do travel matte alpha. So essentially what it's doing is it's going to look at the alpha channel of the layer that is below it. Okay, that's important. The alpha channel of the layer that is below it. Now, even though that layer is turned on, I don't see it because it's underneath this thing. And but it essentially is cutting a hole in the video of the track above it. Okay. The beauty of doing that is that now I can select this thing because I'm not going to move the mask left PNG. I can select this thing and just sort of drag it over. Now you see what I'm doing? Now I get to position my image inside the box. And then with my other track, I can actually pull that over here, and now I have some looking space there. I got some looking space there. Deselect everything. That's a much better looking shot. All right. Now I'm going to go one step further because we can. I'm going to option click these three guys, and I've made a mistake. I actually do want to bump them up one more layer, and I'm going to bring in my mask right, and I'm going to drop that underneath the first track. I'm going to pull that out, hit the letter N to snap it to the end. And I'm going to right click on this, I'm going to control click on this guy, the other track, and I'm going to do composite mode, travel matte alpha for that one also. So why am I doing that? Well, it's going to get a little tricky here. In my graphics folder, I always have a color matte that is black. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the end of my timeline. I'm going to select this and hit the letter E to extend. And then what I'm going to do, this is where it's going to get fun. I'm going to take mask left. I'm going to double click on it. I'm going to go into the motion tab, and I'm going to scale it down to say 80%. Now let's do 90%. Whoops, I did 990%. How about 90%? Okay, now you see what I've done is I've actually squeezed that little guy down to reveal the black background back behind. Okay? Now I'm going to do the same thing to mask right. Double click on that guy. Come and scale him down to 90%. And you see what I've done here is I have squeezed my mask cutter, if you will, my travel matte alpha source down, and now my upper video lives inside that hole. Now, obviously, if I pull it down too far, I'm cutting, I don't have any video to fill that hole, but I can now actually, just kind of play with this and get my framing exactly the way I want. I can do the same thing with this guy, and I can maybe put those people there. Now, I think that's a panning shot, so it's going to change every second. Yeah. But anyway, there is my third way of doing the travel matte alpha. Now, the split screen. So the last little thing, a lot of times people want to have a little border here, and that's the easiest thing in the world to do. If I just select this mask right, I'm going to hold down the Option key and click in the canvas, and now hold down the Option key and just use my right hand arrow, and essentially I'm just very subtly bumping that over to the right, and I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm selecting mask left, hold down the Option key, click in the canvas, use my left arrow, bump that over ever so slightly, and now I've put this little tiny black channel between those two shots. So that's split screens. 3 ways to do it. The crop tool, travel matte alpha with the cutters, and then actually manipulating the cutters to squeeze those down. Whoops, and now I've accidentally clicked, and I'll undo, and that's the split screen. Later.